The chin up is the perfect complement to the big three. And by the big three, I mean the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. And there are some reasons why I say this, and I am obviously not the first person out there to come up with this idea. I'm not the first person to say it. I'm not the first person to promote it. There have certainly been other coaches and influencers before me. Again, I've been doing this a while, though. There were ones before me who more or less said the same thing. And so why does this work so well? And when you look at it, there's a lot of reasons why we use the big three. Okay, and I've said this many, many times. It makes sense to use them in your program, almost irrespective of what your goals are, because we have so much research on them, we have so much data on them, and there's so many millions of hours of high-level coaching involved in these three lifts that it makes sense to use them. Because we know how to correct them, we know how to fix them, we know how to work the muscles differently with variations of them. We have studies on them. And again, these are also lifts that have strength standards by which you can compare yourself to other people to really know where you are in terms of strength and development. And that development is a big part of it, because unless you're gaming the system, size does equal strength. And meaning, you know, if you're cheating, you're using different equipment to help you lift, you're trying to trim the ranges of motion really short with massive arches. When you take all of that away, a 1 rep max or a 5 rep max or a 10 rep max, you know where you stand against other people on these lifts. Okay, they're very, very standardized in regards to that, with strength and conditioning standards. And of course, the most popular strength sport is built around these three. So when I say that, I really do mean they work extremely well. They also are all fantastic muscle builders. And I'm not saying they're the be-all, end-all of muscle builders, but they are all amazing muscle builders. You can actually get pretty dang big doing nothing but squat, bench, and deadlift. There are people who proved it. We used to see articles back in the day. And this would upset people a little more in the modern world, but there were writers and books, magazine articles, all this stuff back when I was younger being put out where people were like, yeah, I mean, honestly, you could just do these three lifts and build your base and do nothing but these three lifts. You know, and I don't agree with that. But this was actually touted. And there were people who actually did feel that they would build the biceps, the deadlift and stuff would. I don't necessarily agree with that. Because again, I've struggled with bicep development, and you guys have seen me deadlift over 600 pounds. I mean, I've done 500 for an 11 rep set before using a deadlift bar and a belt and everything. So, you know, not necessarily true, but maybe for a ranked novice they would. But let's come back over to what does the chin up add? The chin up works the muscles that these three miss. Because when you start looking at everything worked, what gets worked? What gets worked and actually will hypertrophy significantly from these lifts? Bench press, it's obvious. Pecs, triceps. Okay, pecs and triceps. Front delts, maybe a little bit of side delt. Okay, right? Hopefully we all agree with that. We all understand this. Pack the bench press, perform the way I'm performing it here. Massive chest builder. You could build a big chest doing nothing but this. All right. Squat is very obvious. Build your lower body. Pretty much everything but the hamstrings will grow. People debate the hamstrings. The evidence just isn't there. Quads, glutes, adductors, it will grow all of that. It will grow your erectors to some extent, even your abdominals. Okay. Deadlifts. Deadlifts will grow the whole lower body. It will grow the quads, glutes. Big hamstring builder. Lower back, traps, forearms, all of those will grow. To some extent, lats will grow from it, posterior delts, rhomboids. That has been noted in people who don't even always do back work, that if they get really good at deadlifts, they do tend to have big traps and they still tend to have rear delts. But lats can very much get neglected. They do get worked a little. But it does work. It works your core, everything. All right, deadlift, it works most of this stuff. All right, so a lot of people are saying, well, what's missing? Lats and biceps, really. Big ones. Big ones. But anything that works the posterior delts tends to work the side delts. Okay, and I'm not saying we should necessarily neglect side delts. That's one of the areas I do actually isolate personally because I need it. All right, but stop and think about what the chin up in the way the chin-up works. Biceps, lats. It will work rear delts, traps, rhomboids. But what else has it kind of been known to work? We've got evidence that it will work the long head of the tricep, the head that the bench works the least. Not saying you should rely on it exclusively if you want really big arms. But hopefully people see where I'm going with that. Will it contribute to further potential tricep development in the weakest part from the bench? Yes. Okay. Does it potentially grow things like the upper chest a little? Yes. Is it a valid ab exercise? Yes. Look at the EMG data lighting the core up, lighting the whole abdominal wall up on chins. Also helps train the grip, which carries over to the deadlift. So, but really, when we start looking at it, which muscles get the least work from the big three? Biceps, number one, and then lats. Okay, we can make it a point about certain parts of the delt, which they do hit there a little bit. Okay. Well, all the stuff that the chin-up really works effectively, plus there's splash over to the other stuff like the abs, the upper chest potentially, the long head of the tricep, you know, maybe your intercostals, right? So when you add it in, what do we have? These 4 exercises, it rounds the big 3 back out, okay? Because some people will say, well, if you did those, you might not look like you lift purely with bench being the only real upper body exercise and deadlift. Yeah, you still look like you lift, but you will have lacking areas. But if you guys ever notice that anyone who's really, really good at chin-ups tends to have a jacked upper body? I mean really good, you know. You know, the guys who you see who can just crank out 30, 40 chins who aren't super skinny, yeah, they usually have... They have biceps, they have lats, they have delts. They tend to have all those things. It finishes it out. What I'm saying is that if a person did nothing else but these 4 exercises, their whole body would grow, their whole body would be bigger, their whole body would be stronger. I'm not saying they would have a perfect physique, but they would have one heck of a foundation. And anyone who got really good, and I mean good meaning good at your workloads, not just your maxes, can you move some solid weight for 10 clean reps? Okay, that's what I mean. You get pretty good at all 4 of these, you're going to look like you lift. Okay, you're going to look like you lift. There's no doubt about that. And you're going to be pretty big. And you're not going to have massive, enormous weaknesses. Like you're probably not going to have any part of your body that doesn't look like you work it. Again, 4 exercises. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.